Welcome back into another episode of the Spaceman 2.0 Phoenix Truth Rising Show. Here to help you grow in the knowledge and wisdom of truth, and the truth will set you free. With the best history lesson and spiritual insights on the planet, exposure of the Illuminati's plan of world conquest and control is the death knell to the New World Order. So we're going to get back into our flight instructions in the Phoenix Operator OWNER Manual, and we're going to get into thou shalt not commit adultery. It's quite a doozy, but it also goes into the equality of women as well, and how that has been misused and abused with words from the Bible. And to enlighten everyone up at the end of this heavy-duty law, we're going to get into the true physics of the universe, where matter, motion, time, change, dimension, and substance have no existence. The light of knowing mind alone exists. And knowing the true physics of the universe helps enlighten your mind to be more in that Zen, aware, contemplative mind of the laws of the creation. So that being said, let's get back into number 8. You must not commit adultery. The literal definition of adultery in your dictionary is the voluntary sexual intercourse of a married person with someone not the spouse. Now, the reason for this law, which still applies now, was that well before and at the time that the commandments were presented by Moses to the people, they were most simple-minded, ignorant, illiterate, and God-fearing because of their previous false teachings given by the religious empire leaders of their time. The problem was that throughout your past history, many young men and soldiers would lustfully spread their fertile seed in the sexual act to many various young, willing women, whom they met within their daily lives and in their travels from village to village. Times have not changed much, have they? The obvious result was that many women became pregnant, and usually by the time the man was long gone to war or to the next village, so she would be left alone with the responsibility of birthing and raising her child. Many women could not handle this unexpected responsibility and the desertion of who they usually thought to be their man. Many women, overcome by the horror, shame, and guilt of the circumstance, killed themselves and their unborn by trying to abort the child. Many women were left on the streets unless they had friends or family who would take care of them, and many women abandoned their birth child, sometimes at the doorstep of a church, orphanage, but also some would leave the child to die in some dark and desolate place. So thus, the necessity of this law, you must not commit adultery, and see law number 15, you must obey the wisdom of God for the responsibility you have of balanced procreation of your species. So in his loving mercy and infinite wisdom, God created the commitment of marriage or wedlock, defined in your dictionary as a legal contract by a man and woman to live together as husband and wife. In the higher realms, it is a very serious and joyful commitment and is called divine union. In this way, he planted the seed of joint responsibility of this husband and wife to each other and to any offspring they produced. This is why marriage is to be considered one of the most serious and sacred commitments to God. Now, we will quote some of the actual teachings given on the subject of the Father's Word, given by the Master Teacher, Jesus Izu Emmanuel, from the book, now in print as the part of the Phoenix Journal series entitled, And They Called His Name Emmanuel, I Am Sananda. Nearly 2,000 years ago, when the Master Jesus Izu Emmanuel was asked about the commitment of marriage and the rights of men and women, this is what he said. All good things were given unto you, and you received the laws according to which you are to live. You should adhere to these and additional laws, so that you shall prosper on earth and have peace in your families. Remove the power of the old law, that woman shall be subject to man, since she is a person equal to man in spirit, respect, and has equal rights and obligations. There are many distortions in the laws, since they were given forth by God and the celestial sons, for man have built them to be suitable unto themselves. When a man marries a woman, he shall pay to the most trusted steward the handling of her possessions as a price of security, lest she suffer from lack of her necessities. The price should be calculated in such a way that for each year of her life, 100 pieces of silver should be the basis, measured according to her knowledge, her ability, and her strength, provided her health is not lacking. The price is not to be considered as that of a purchase, for no person may be sold or bought, but as security for the woman, lest she suffer lack. Amount and type of financial security for modern times will be adjusted accordingly. For further clarification of Emmanuel's statements, read Phoenix Journal Extreme Express Volumes 1 and 2, pages 34 to 40. The bond of matrimony between man and woman should be permitted only if both are of mental competence and capable of leading a marriage in accordance with the law. Note, that is God's law. If, according to predetermined agreement, no price is paid, the law applies. The man must supply the needs of the wife regarding all of her necessities. The inability of a wife to bear children, or a man's inability to sire children, is no reason for divorce, nor does she or he deserve other opinions or actions. The only reason for divorce is that of adultery, that is, the destruction or endangering of spirit, the body, or the life of the members of one's own family unit. If a person is divorced by his own actions of adultery, he should be sterilized, for he is unworthy of life and its laws, for he has responded to the selfish, lustful drives of pleasure-seeking and cast aside all responsible behavior. End of quoting. Now, in the literal translation, in order for adultery to occur, then one or the other or both of the two adulterers would have to have made the vow of marriage. In God's kingdom of truth, this vow of divine union made between two, a man and a woman, to live together as one, is taken most seriously, indeed, because it is a commitment made to the Father within, each to the other, for that entire life stream. It is a contract with God rather than a legal contract of the human experience. This means that a man and a woman who cohabit together as lovers without a so-called legal contract must make the same commitment to God as those who have the so-called legal contract, whether they realize it or not. It is not necessarily always a contract made to God to procreate the species, because many who choose divine union may not choose, be able, or be qualified to fulfill the procreation service to the one Father. Reread Commandment number 6, where we discuss the responsibility of procreation. But both lovers still have the same responsibility as a legally married couple for the offspring they may produce. If they only choose cohabitation because of sexual lust or other selfish reasons, they have thus denied their responsibility to God, and they will suffer the consequences of their actions at the hands of evil. See Law 13, as you sow, so shall you reap, also known as the law of cause and effect. Does this mean that divorce defined as 1. Dissolution of a marriage bond by legal process or accepted custom, 2. Any radical or complete separation goes against the laws of God and the creation? Yes and no. You see, it depends on the true circumstances experienced by the divorcing couple. For example, since your commitment in life is always first in service to God, then ideally your chosen partner in marriage must support your commitment as well as his/her commitment to the Holy Father. If, for example, your partner batters you and or your children physically or emotionally, and thus does not support or honor either his or your commitment in service to God, then you are no longer bound by your contract bond of marriage. Why would God bind you and your children to a commitment of suffering and punishment? It is not logical. But if your partner decides and he/she wants to divorce you because you are just no longer attractive to him/her physically and sexually, this is not an acceptable reason for divorce. Let's take that example further. Say your partner is no longer attracted to you and decides to find sexual satisfaction elsewhere. He/she has committed adultery. Reread above quote by Jesus Emmanuel. And if you choose to do so, it is an acceptable reason for divorce. The reason is that not only has your partner broken his or her commitment with you and himself, but in the act of adultery, he has broken his commitment to serve God, because by the act of fulfilling his lust, he has invited the Antichrist within his temple. Of course, the choice you make about whether or not to divorce an adulterous mate will ultimately be made by the Father within you. So before moving into the next law, you must not steal materially or emotionally, which also gets into those emotional vampires, right? Which steal from us any which way they can with gaslighting us, getting you to react so that your energy gives them the necessary nutrition that they're looking for from the light. Because you have so much light, they just want you to react, even if it's in anger, so that they can get some of that energy that you have, because you're a creative being and they're not really understanding their creative potential right now. The Antichrist, basically Lucifer or the devil, has all the beauty, the power, the knowledge, but he doesn't have the creative spirit. He doesn't have that creative ability. That's why he attacks us at our procreative aspects so much more than anywhere else, because it is only through sex, our sexual procreative abilities, that we are able to create and manifest things with our mind, heart, and being in our body. And he just really hates that he can't do that. He uses man, human, to create for him. So do not be deceived by the Antichrist. So let's finish off the episode with some more light understanding, enlightened understanding of the physics of the mind. So we'll continue on, and we'll get through this page and hopefully the next in the next few minutes, and it will give you some food for thought and how to truly ponder what's going on with the spiritual mind of oneself. Matter, motion, time, change, dimension, and substance have no existence. The light of knowing mind alone exists. There is but one mind and one thinker. The one light of knowing mind is self of God. It is the universal self, which centers all omnipresent self-creating bodies of God's selves. This self-creating universe is the mind-imagined body of God and record of God's thinking. We can know God. We cannot know his body, but we can see it. Likewise, we can know man. We cannot know the body of man, but we can see it. What God is, man is. God and man are one. Perception of duality. We seemingly live in two universes, the still cosmic mind universe of knowing and the moving thought of mind rhythmic wave universe of sensing. We cannot sense the cosmic universe of God's knowing, nor can we know the thought wave universe of God's thinking. The cosmic mind universe of the one light of all knowing is all that is. The vibrating thought wave universe of sensing merely seems. Cosmic God light. The one still light of God is the cosmic light which watches over all creating things at countless points locatable by man but invisible to man. Man's senses have misled him into believing in a force called magnetism, which attracts compass needles and lifts tons of steel. These phenomena of motion are due to electricity and not to magnetism, frequencies and pulses, if you will, of invisible circuitry of all that is. The cosmic light is absolutely still. It neither attracts nor repels. You must comprehend the nature and purpose of the magnetic poles of suns, planets, and all other moving extensions of the one light. Likewise, you need to know the nature and purpose of the two electric workers